Well, good evening. We had the Who's in Sydney town in good old steak and kidney um, today out at Rosehill. We'll get to that meeting in a minute. Now, of course, um, last week, last Saturday, when Ramwick was on there, we did have a meeting at Gosford last Saturday. The track there was good. The rail was in the normal position. When I do my form, I'm going to runners. There was one leader that led all the way on the fence. I'm going to allow a little bit for horses that did lead on the fence. I thought the track was a little bit against those runners, and so at Gosford on the 22nd, I thought it played a little bit better away from the fence and just off the pace. There were runners that were outside the lead, so just off the fence, maybe a little bit better, especially leading. Then, of course, we had a meeting at Randwick on Wednesday, where the track was dead, and the rail was 3 metres out, and I thought the track played fair on Wednesday. There was a light southwesterly blowing, and there were runners that led on the fence and won, and there were also runners that came from behind, and I thought the track played very fair at Randwick. It was we raced on the Kensington track, of course, on Wednesday. On Thursday, which was the 27th, 2 days ago, we had a meeting out at Hawkesbury. Hawkesbury, of course, in the middle of the track at Hawkesbury, there's a graveyard. It's where they bury bookies. I remember going there when I was maybe 15 or 16 with my grandfather. And he backed the last. I was telling a couple of the boys the story at Hawkesbury this Thursday. There was just nobody there. We were more or less playing the pros, the 4 or 5 pros there all day. There's just nobody there. As I say, when I was about 15 or 16, going there with my grandfather, he happened to back the last winner. We were there collecting, and there were 3 bookies who were working on the rails that day. They all worked in town on the rails in town, and of course this was around about 1964, 63 something, and of course they were saying at Hawkesbury. I was tuning into what they were saying, and one of them happened to say to the well, the game's gone, and this joint here, it's impossible to win at this joint here at Hawkesbury. Well, you know, that was all those years ago. It is a very difficult place to win swinging the satchel. It's a bit of a graveyard. They bury bookies in the middle of the track. And at Hawkesbury, of course, we've got this extended straight now. The wind was more or less non-existent, only a light breeze during the day. The track, as I say, was a dead 5. The rail was in the normal position. We did have one winner lead on the fence and stay close to the fence and win, and that was in the second race. A runner trained by Tony McAvoy, trialled at Hawkesbury, Cincinnati bankroll. It stayed, had barrier 2, and led on the fence, and stayed close to it, and won by 2 lengths. It was only a maiden. They weren't. It wasn't a flash deal, but it was a very solid win. So each win was a little bit better than it looked. And as the day went on at Hawkesbury, it was quite evident that it was best away from the rails. Most of the riders before the turn had steered a course away from the rails and came down the middle of the track. So there were some runners that got up on the inside and ran fair races. There was one runner that cut the corner, or Dorabeal, in the second last race. It cut the corner close to the fence, but then got to the middle of the track and ran down the leader, who was a runner called Accompany Me, who led. And when they did get to the turn into the straight, it was a good 5 and 6 even further off the track. And as I say, Dorabeal cut the corner, so its run was most probably a bit better. But horses who were a little bit tied up against the fence, you could give them an extra little bit of a tick. Now, of course, we came to Rosehill today, where the track was. We kicked off with a slow 7. The rail was 6 metres out. The grass was fairly long and wet, and it was Silver Slipper Day, as I say, plus the Hobartville, and we did have light rain during races 1 and 2, and then we had no more rain up until the last race. When the horses got onto the track, it started to rain very lightly, and just 30 seconds before, not even that, before they jumped in the last, the rain was extremely heavy. In the last race, they raced in fairly wasn't true. We've seen heavier rain, of course, but it was very heavy rain in the last race, and of course the winner that got the winner got a suck right up along the fence, right behind the leader, which might have been an advantage. Anyway, today at this meeting, you know, it was Silver Slipper Day, as I say, Hobartville Stakes Day. What do we have in Melbourne? What was the name of the race in Melbourne? The Straight the Guineas. The joint was empty. The betting ring at Rosehill, it's gone. And someone even said, a very smart man said to me on Wednesday at Randwick, we're talking about Rosehill. Everybody's saying the same thing. Rosehill's gone. You get a thoroughfare of girls and drinkers out there coming out to the pub at Rosehill, walking through the betting ring. But there are very, very few punters in the ring, as I keep on saying all the time, and they just follow what the pros do. Now, the figures in some of the races here today were absolutely hopeless. You swear blind we're betting in counterfeit because, well, I'll let you know as we go on. That's about all I'd say there. The wind was only very light during the day, which didn't have any effect. And there wasn't a runner that actually stayed close to the fence and hung on and won. And there wasn't and of course there wasn't a leader. We had Dissident sit outside the leader, and we had Cosmic Endeavour sit outside the lead, and the last winner tuck in behind them, and of course the first winner sat outside its stablemate, Ecuador outside Almighty Charging One. We didn't have one runner that led and was able to hang on and win. A couple of them ran second. Well, in the second race it ran second. Yes, it got through and led Horseman and ran second, but no leaders actually won. And of course, when they got to the home turn, most of the leaders were steering a course away from the fence. There was one race where the pumper on a stablemate, where while they had half of the field, we'll get to that meeting, he cut the corner close to the fence, but then he got about 5 or 6 off after he'd straightened up. Anyway, this first race, they said there was 103.7 on the screen for the robots, and there was about 5 less in the marketplace, only about 98%. And as I say, it led Almighty Charge. I own the lead, trained by Gay. Gay had 3 runners in the race. She also had, it opened up about a $9 chance, Almighty Charge, got out to $11, back into about $9. It led, came across, found an easy lead, and the pumper at one stage on the runner to finish up running 4th, it looked like he was going to sit outside the leader, Express Power, but that runner just didn't have enough pace to come up to get up and sit outside the lead, and Ecuador, the stable mate to the leader and winner, was able to sit second, and that was the difference between this horse winning and losing. I think if the pumper would have been outside the lead, and Ecuador would have had to come from behind the pair, the leader might have got home here. As it turned out, there was only a nostril in it, and the runner, the first 4 around the turn here ran 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th, and the 5th horse ran 5th, and they nearly finished in the first race in the order that they were around the turn, 2, 7, 4, 6, 8, 1, 5 and 3, and that's about how they were coming to the bend in the turning for home in the first race. So making up ground there was most probably a little bit difficult there today as well, but Ecuador was able to get past a good neck in front of the stablemate Almighty Charge, but when they got down to the line, Ecuador was not holding on as good as terrific Tommy Berry was hoping, and the stablemate kicked up on the inside, ridden by T. Clark, and only went down by, as I say, the nostril margin. We bet $2.70. I think the best luck was only $2.60. It's a mile of $2.70. There was, as I say, a good 5% difference what was on the screen and in the marketplace. We got to the second race, and Territory, ridden by Nash, it sat back in 3rd last position, sprinted too well for them, as it turned out, when they flattened out. It got held up slightly in this race, trying to get in between them, Ernest, who settled down in last position. We only had a field of seven runners here, and as I say, Ernest was sprinted a little bit too good for them up the straight. By the same token, only beating Horseman by it didn't lead Horseman. It led Lon Ace only by 0.3 of a length, and Ernest died a little bit on its run after being held up, as I say, beaten 1.1. Now in this race, on the screen, they said there was only 94.5 on the screen. The robots, they must have been, what do you think, that they would have gone, they got a direct line to the fraud squad, but in the marketplace, 90% only, if possibly less. These were the flux in this race that I saw. Territory, the winner, huge result for the captains. Didn't have a price. It went from $8 out to $13. Very hard to lay. The Dream Choice. Would the owners of Dream Choice please step forward? The owners of Dream Choice, they forgot to turn up at they most probably went to Randwick instead of Rosehill today. It pulled up, well, the vet ran his hand over it, said he couldn't find anything wrong with it. It's going to be freshened up by its trainer, Darren Smith, and he said he was scratching his head. Maybe it didn't handle the conditions there today. It opened up a $2.50 chance, 6-4 the field. They returned it, and the best luck was $3.50. You couldn't give it away at $3.80 towards the end of betting. Didn't have a price. Horseman went from $6.50 out to $9, back into about $7.50. Bob's Lane went from $5 out to $6.50. Ernest, $13 out to $14, back into $13. Lon Ace, now this is the one, I think after seeing the first race, I got a suspicion here that a few of the pros bit the bullet very, very early after watching the first race, saying, no, this is a diabolical leaders track, and we're going to, as I say, bite the bullet here, and we're going to back the leaders in this race. Well, they did, and as predicted, Lon Ace. I'm going to talk about this business later when I finish this, saying a few stupid words here about disclosing what you have to do in races. But anyway, Lon Ace, as thought it would lead, it did lead, and Green Bow, who showed pace when it won at the provincials, they thought it would be up near the lead, and it was, and both of those were sensationally back. After opening up $5, Lon Ace got out to $5.50. It only started, it was into $3.30 or 20 at one stage. I was $3.30 again when they jumped, and the Green Bow, well, it was $17 out to 26, back into about $15, and they led, but they gave in fairly quickly. And as I say, Territory, after sitting back, they were, for a small field of 7 runners, they were spread out a little bit at one stage, but the leaders came back to the other 4 runners by the time they got to the turn, and the leaders gave in fairly quickly, and we know what the result was now. Now, race 3, they said 102.3 on the screen, and there was about 3 less in the marketplace, about 99% only, and this race was over. Not long after they jumped. It could have been over yesterday, this race, because it went straight to the lead, Longport from barrier 1, and just strolled along with Dre Fontaine, I Own the Lead, on its outside. It was a good 2 or 3 lengths, 2.5 lengths back to the Avery Red Tracer, and then about the same margin, 2.5 to 3 lengths back to Lucky Largo on the inside of Dre Fontaine. It set outside the lead. Sorry, the runner from Melbourne, A Time for Julia, and the stablemate to the winner, who was sensationally backed, Royal Descent, ridden by Horseman Bowman. He jumped out and he just eased back to last position and made a bit of a run at the 500 metre mark, was pushed a little bit wider, turning for home by Dre Fontaine, but they were, after flattening out every runner in this race except for the winner Red Tracer, was off the bit, being pushed along, whereas Red Tracer was just ambling up to the 2 leaders, and Nash hadn't gone for it, and when he did, it was able to get past the 2 leaders very easily. By the same token, it didn't run away and bolt in. 1 3/4 lengths was the finishing margin. We put it up a 2 to 1 on chance. We'll have $1.50. We'll have your 2 for 1. At the finish of betting, there was a mile of $1.65. You wouldn't see it, but there was plenty of $5.50 about Royal Descent after opening up $5, but only started $4. And there was a bit of money for Time for Julia at $12 and $11, but starting around about $12 again at the end of betting. Royal Descent, well, it was the way the race was run, it was impossible for it to win. Race 4, well, here, bad figures again. On the screen, only 100.4, less the Toyota Lexus for the captains, but in the marketplace, That's for the robots, 100.4. In the marketplace, for the captains down there dealing with those hardened, tough pros, 96% only. And here, this runner and favourite Moss Fun, well, it trotted in. It won by 4 lengths. Isn't it funny? Well, the track was, of course, slow, heading towards maybe on the worst side of slow coming to this race. And as I say, the grass a bit long, but when we start to get down to the nitty-gritty leading up to the slipper with these 2-year-olds, there's a lot of runners that you think that go very well, but you soon find out the difference in class the closer you get to the slipper. And there are a couple of runners here that put their hand up and said, well, I'm nowhere as good as everybody thought I was. Whereas this winner, as I say, won by 4 lengths, Moss Fun. It's only had the 3 starts now and won the 3 of them, trained by Hawks, the Hawks team. It led Law, trained by I Own the Lead Gay. Sitting on its outside was Moss Fun. They raced in pairs, and with Modoc sitting back behind the other 6 runners. And after they'd flattened out, turning for home, when they did turn for home, Law was a good 2.5 to 3 lengths, 2.5 to 3 wide off the fence, 2.5 to 3 off the fence. And McDonald was travelling very sweetly on the outside of the lead, and he, as I say, waited until they had really flattened out. And Moss Fun, it accelerated far too well for the other runners, and went away and won very easily. All of the others more or less had their chance in that race. Race 5, well, you just know it's not right. By the same token, there was 5% for us captains in the marketplace, but they said there was 110.1 on the screen, only 105 in the marketplace. And this is, of course, the race where we had 8 runners, 4 of them trained by Chris Waller, and Opinion, a $26 chance ridden by the Pumper. It sat and slightly missed the kick, and then sat back in 5th position on the fence. And when they turned for home, it was 5 off the fence, Carlton House, owned by the Queen and trained by I Own the Lead, Gay. It was 5 off the fence, more or less. The Pumper just simply, he was tailing Bay Rear, who was on the back of Carlton House. He was tailing it. He just went inside Bay Rear on the turn. He was only more or less 1 off the fence, saved a good little bit of ground, and as they gradually flattened out, he kept on edging off the fence. He looked over at one stage and could see that Carlton House, he was going to be able to get past, even though he was on the inside of it, but well off the fence by this time. He was able to go. He was going to be able to get past it very easily. He had a quick peek underneath his Warwick farm, and he could see. He said, "Now where is the stablemate, Janoob? It's got to be flying down the outside." But it is very one-paced, and it was labouring really, and it couldn't get past. It couldn't get past Carlton House, which held on to second, beaten 2.8 lengths by Opinion, and it was 3 lengths, beaten 3 lengths, Janoob. As I say, very, very one-paced, and I thought a little bit disappointing considering the way it won their last start. They said the best luck was $1.70. There was plenty of $1.80 on course. The winner, good result for the captains, $19 out to $26. They took $9 at one stage, Carlton House, and there was a little bit of money for Light in the Night at $11. And Jack and Obey you wouldn't see, but they bet $15. But $13 and $14 was taken about Jacqueline Bay, and even $12 at one stage. Opinion, it seemed to be a very strong run. Another import trained by Waller. We got to race 6, and here they said there was 102.4 on the screen, about 3 less in the marketplace, around about 99%. One of the differences, of course, or the biggest difference was number 6, Corabetti. I think they said the best luck was $6.50, a 11 to 2 chance. Well, there were at least 3 boards on the fence when they jumped had up $8 about Corabetti. I was $8 in the outside ring as well, and I did pluck something out of it. Funny thing, at $6.50 early, but it was $8 begging at the finish, and you couldn't give it away. Here we saw Romantic Touch. They did say today, I Own the Lead Gaze team said we are going to ride this closer. She also had Woodbine, the Avery in the race. It settled back in 6th position, and Romantic Touch, not like last start where it was last and ran on. It led today when they said they were going to ride it closer, and they did. Fancy having to tell the stewards what you're going to do. It's a race. I'll get to that in a minute. And on its out, Cassidy on Dissident, trained by Moody. He kept on kicking up on Dissident to make sure he was up near the lead. And as he sat outside Romantic Touch, never really travelling sweetly all the way. He was well, most certainly coming to the turn, not travelling. It didn't appear to be travelling as well as the leader, Romantic Touch, which finished up running very poorly. Wasn't fully tested, and apparently right to the line. Tommy Terrific sat up, and the Stipes fined him for sitting up towards the finish, not riding it right out, and it also pulled up with speedy cuts. But Dissident, as I say, it wasn't going. It didn't appear to be going that well coming to the turn. The pumper always pumping along, sort of thing, and even when they were on when they turned for home, the leader stayed 3 off the fence, and the runner that finished closest to the fence was the 101 chance Swiggin. But when they flattened out, and before they flattened out, the pumper was sort of getting into Dissident to keep it going, and that's exactly what it did. It kept on going all the way down the straight. The runner that finished second in the race was Atlante, number 3, ridden by Father Schofield, trained by Baker, the man who's got It's a Done Deal from New Zealand. It got up inside Romantic Touch. It was following Romantic Touch. It got up inside it, and the margin was only 0.2 of a length when they hit the line. And coming from 5th position was Savvy Nature, but they were nothing was really making ground. The track was playing that way, and Dissident, even though it did get a good run, it was a fairly strong win, and the second horse was also a good run. Woodbine, the favourite, it found the line well. Was only beaten 1.8 lengths, running 4th. It sat on the outside of the 3rd place getter, Savvy Nature, all of the way. And that was about that race. We got to race 7. Now, of course, you know it's not right again. Race 7, they said there was 108.6 on the screen. In the marketplace, there were losing figures. We only got to about 99. The biggest discrepancy I can see is with this bottom one, Gun Case, the horse from Queensland, trained by Birchley, ridden by roving Robert Thompson. Well, we only put it up apparently in pre-betting. It was extremely well backed. We only put it up a 10 to 1 chance, $11. I was $21 when they jumped. Now the SP is only $13 about Gun Case, 12 to 1 chance. I was most probably the top odds on the ground, $21, but you could get $19 on a few boards on the fence. So the $13 seemed a bit strange to me. They backed. It was a race where punters, well, the runner that started favourite may soon. I think they'll only return at $3.50. I was $4 when they jumped. Plenty of $4.40 and $4, plenty of $4.60 given about may soon. At one stage it was into $3.80 layable, but I was $4 again when they jumped. $3.50 I think you might find is out the SP. In this race, the only runners that the only runners that weren't backed were Flight Academy, which didn't have a price, with the owners of Flight Academy. Please step forward. It was ridden by Killer Kath O'Hara, who's back on the scene after her injury. Welcome back, Kath. She settled back in second last position. She stayed close to the fence all the way. She might have even hit the rail at one stage and got a bit of a squeeze. It ran right along the fence close to it, which wasn't the place to be, I suppose, in the straight, but it didn't have a price. It was $6 out to $11, if not $12, and Mon Gâteau, it was more or less $10 out to $17, and Gun Case, look, I must admit, even though it was $21 when they jumped, at one stage you could have laid it at $15. I did wind it off. If I would have left it there, I could have easily laid it, wound it off, didn't lay at that price, but then I went feeling for it to finish at $21, and I got very, very little section out of it. And there was a bit of money for the other runners, but as I say, the figures were very skinny, only about 99. The winner, Cosmic Endeavour, it went straight to the lead. Paso Doble, and $12 was I bet $12, and it was $12 given on the fence. Only started 10. It led, and it came straight across and sat on its outside. Cosmic Endeavour, always travelling sweetly, and he was able to, ridden by terrific Tommy Fagay, was able to get past the leader fairly easy, straightening, and it held on far too strong in the straight. It won by 2.3 lengths. It sat back 3 on the fence behind the leaders. Diamond Oasis copped a bit of a check, didn't affect his chances, and it ran second. And that's about all you would say in that race. Maysoon, the favourite, had every possible chance. It was sitting in the 1-1. Copped a slight check, wouldn't have, which had no effect on its chances. The winner was too strong, but did get a good run. And then we came to the last race, and as I say, the last race was run in very heavy rain. 101.8 only on the screen, but there was a good 6% less in the marketplace. Now these were the flux in the last race. Black Jag went from 650 out to 750, back into 650. Forever Crazy, who pulled up a long last, it was $6 into $5 at one stage. I think I at least had $6 when they jumped, if not might have even had $6.50 on my board. But I couldn't lay it. It didn't really have a name. I don't know why I wound the 550 off at one stage. It's apparently going for a spell now. Tamariz, the opening favourite. Would the owners of Tamariz please step forward? Tamariz didn't have a price. You couldn't lay it with a trowel. It was $4 out to $7.50. Tamariz. Excuse me. Diamond Jim, 17 into 15 at one stage, but back out to 17. Dolphy's Boy, I think. Excuse me. I'll have to give him that Foodie Blue in a minute. Dolphy's Boy, I think the best fluck was $19. There's plenty of 26, 17 to 26. Dora Mello, another runner didn't have a price, a stablemate to Tamariz. Would the owners of Dora Mello please step forward? $6 out to $12, Dora Mello. Now the runner that started favourite was Empress Elect. We put it up a 4-to-1 chance, got out to $6, which you wouldn't see, started 4.80. The next runner was well backed, Retort Courteous, $9 out to 10, back into 7.50. The winner, Lucky Liaison, $16, $18 given in the outside ring, plenty of 17 on the fence, only started $13, and Zatiro was 100 out to 150, back into 100. As I say, running heavy rain, it led I Own the Lead, Doromello, on its outside, Forever Crazy. Tucked in white in behind them on the fence was the eventual winner, Lucky Liaison, on its outside, Black Jag. A runner that got trapped 3 wide in the run. I might be going mad here. It didn't sit second, Forever Crazy. It sat second, of course. Tamariz sat second. Forever Crazy was always well back in the field. It led Doromello. The other runner I Own the Lead, Gay, had 2 runners in the race. She owns the lead, and one led and the other sat on the outside of it. And they were Doromello and Tamariz. I Own the Lead. Both of them first and second leading. The winner tucked away on behind them on the fence, on its outside, Black Jack. The runner that got trapped 3 wide in the run was Retort Courteous. So its run, where it was positioned, wasn't a bad run. I'll have to have a good look at this race again. If it would have drawn an alley, maybe Retort Courteous, or most certainly if it would have had the run that the winner had, I'd say it most probably would have won this race, because it finished up running 4th, only beaten 1.7 lengths. So that could have been, that was, I think, the difference between winning and losing. But the format at last race is going to be very hard. Well, you take no notice of it, really, because of the really wet conditions that the race was run in. Now, that was about the meeting. Campbell Grange, of course, today was washed out, and we had another TAB meeting at Dubbo, and it was also washed out. They'll find that the TAB, they'll find places for those 2 meetings. They'll slot them in somewhere. Don't you worry about that, because they've got to keep on getting this section off the Grumble and Grunters to pay this prize money that Racing New South Wales are handing out. They're handing out a lot in April. Of course, there wouldn't be much prize money. That case, as I keep on saying, that case that New South Wales won against the captains and the corporates, the corporates not having to pay, who weren't paying any tax, of course. It saved the day for this game, or not save the game, but save the game for as far as prize money goes, because let's face it, if Racing New South Wales hadn't won that case, they wouldn't have been, the Doncaster wouldn't have been run for much money, and there wouldn't have been a cup. There just might have been a rug to go along with a little bit of section for first prize. But the captains save the day. We get the 1.5% off the captains, even though they are the filthy corporates. What was I going to say? I'd like to say, it's just my opinion, but how is a race? It'd be different if it was just a fun. If it we're going out to have the race. There's no, whoever wins the race, there's no. We'll say the only prize you get is your name written on a bit of paper, and you say you were first, you were second, and you were third. But at the races, we are racing for a purse at the end of the event, and have you really got to? I think if it is challenged by someone someday, I just can't see how they could actually lose it. Someone tell me, if it's a race, why have you got to tell everybody what you're going to do in the race? Aren't you? you're not enhancing your chances by telling everybody what you're going to do. Aren't you harming your chances of winning? I think, like, you can think of a thousand scenarios. You could just imagine if there are three leaders in a race, and of course the Stipes have got someone who does a map, and the smart owner comes along and says, now we're one of these runners here that's going to be up near the lead, and there's going to be tremendous pace on here, and my little horse here at the moment is absolutely flying, and if I get up near the lead here and take on these other two, my chances of winning this race are not going to be as good as I think they should be. So, and I like having a bet, and have I really got to go and tell the Stipes, I'm actually going to ride this horse from behind here today, and let everybody know, because everybody is going to say, oh well, there's a bit of pace on here, but I'm trying for my life, don't you? I'm not needle and thread. I'm just trying to do the best for my horse. But I don't want to tell everybody, because everybody might think what everybody else thinks, and then I'm going to be up near the lead. Well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go back, and I might get a better price for when I put my section on with the captains. And the captains, of course, they bet the best price. So, I can't see, say that scenario happens, and that runner does happen to go back, and the other two runners cut each other, and he sits back and comes down the outside, and the Stipes say, hey, now come on, you should have told us what you were going to do. Why is that? Oh, because we knew we had to tell everyone that you were. Why is that? Oh, because they've got another. They've got another. There'd be one in these punters who you've got to tell. The less you tell them, the more chance they got. You realise that. All these things that you tell them, it only just makes it a lot harder for them. The betting tells the tale, and oh well, what was wrong with me going back? I was just trying to give my horse a much better chance. But you should have told us that. But if I would have told you that, you would have told everybody else, and I wouldn't have got tens. Look, there's my briefs. Look, I got 10 to 1 about it. If I would have told you, I only would have got fives. I wouldn't have won as much. Oh well, we've got to tell the general public. They've got to know. No, but bugger the general public. I wanted to try and get some money. I'm not going that well, and I'm the one who pays the feed bill of my horses. I don't have to tell everybody what I'm doing, as long as I'm going out there and giving my horse what I think is the best chances of winning this race. I don't think I'm entitled to tell anybody. As long as I'm trying to win. It's a race. There's a purse at the end of it. Can you imagine if the Stipes, if you lined up all the Stipes and you say, now look, there's a race on here, won't tell you what this is how far the race is going to be. It's over. This race is over a mile and a half. Now you're all going to line up. Now we know that you're not going to disclose. There's $100,000, $200 million at the end of whoever wins this race. There's no, we'll divvy it up for second and third as well. But you're going to disclose to everybody how you're going to run your race. If you do that, well, everybody knows how you're going to run your race. Therefore, it's not going to make it as easy as you were hoping it would be to win the race, to get that $1 million at the end of the race, and also if they were betting on the race. So I can't understand it myself. It's a race, and I don't think that you should have to disclose what your tactics are going to be. Good evening.